Meghan Markle thought her royal title would magically transform her into a Hollywood heavyweight, a prestige creator capable of dictating terms to the industry's untouchable elite. She tried to orchestrate a desperate, glittering pivot from a failing, cancelled podcaster to an acclaimed visionary film director. But the streaming giant Netflix just delivered a brutal, humiliating reality check that has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. In an absolutely devastating blow behind closed doors, Netflix outright rejected her highly anticipated new documentary project, Cookie Queens, leaving it completely stranded in the wilderness without a distributor. It was supposed to be her grand red carpet debut behind the camera, a project meant to prove her undisputed creative genius to the world. Instead, it became a spectacular self-own, exposing the vast, gaping chasm between her towering ego and her rapidly evaporating industry clout. This is the exact moment the royal Hollywood dream officially shattered. Before we dive deep into these shocking insider reports and exclusive theories unraveling this multi-million-dollar disaster, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the dark reality of royal Hollywood scandals.
The ironic hook of this entire catastrophe lies in the spectacular delusion of the pivot itself. Following the embarrassing collapse of her Spotify empire, Meghan was determined to rebrand not just as a producer, but as an auteur. Exclusive theories suggest that the initial pitch for Cookie Queens was less of a cohesive documentary and more of a vanity vehicle disguised as a girl power narrative, heavily micromanaged to center Meghan's own perceived wisdom rather than the actual subjects. Insider reports from the deepest corridors of the Netflix executive suites paint a grim picture of the screening room. Executives allegedly sat in stony, uncomfortable silence as they watched rough cuts that completely lacked narrative focus, pacing, or basic directorial competence. When the final verdict came down, it was not a gentle request for revisions, but a cold, hard rejection. Netflix essentially slammed the door on her directorial debut, refusing to attach their prestigious distribution label to a project they deemed fundamentally unwatchable. This unprecedented rejection left Meghan scrambling, holding a multi-million-dollar piece of undistributable media, totally exposed as a royal playing dress-up in a director's chair she had not earned. Desperate for a win and terrified of the mounting narrative that she was a Hollywood pariah, she stumbled directly into a trap of her own making. In a frantic bid to regain control of her cinematic destiny, she demanded the director's chair for the highly publicized film adaptation of Carly Fortune's hit novel, Meet Me at the Lake. Insider reports reveal that she essentially held the project hostage, leveraging the last remaining scraps of her Sussex production deal to force Netflix's hand. But her reputation had already preceded her. Word had spread like wildfire through the industry's back channels that Meghan was an unbearable micromanager, a relentless meddler who fundamentally misunderstood the creative process. Executives were allegedly terrified at the prospect of handing over a massive production budget to someone notorious for alienating crews, demanding endless, pointless revisions, and prioritizing her own PR image over the actual quality of the art. Exclusive theories suggest that seasoned cinematographers and established screenwriters quietly threatened to walk away from the project entirely if Meghan was officially named director, creating a silent, suffocating mutiny before a single frame was even shot. Caught in a crushing credibility dilemma, Meghan found herself navigating a treacherous double bind. To save face, her aggressive PR team went into overdrive, planting stories and leaking carefully crafted narratives to friendly tabloids claiming she shared a remarkably warm, deeply collaborative relationship with Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos. They attempted to project an image of untouchable corporate synergy, a golden partnership built on mutual respect and visionary alignment. But the cold, undeniable reality of the production slate told a drastically different, deeply embarrassing story. Despite the endless PR spin, the Meet Me at the Lake movie has been stuck in absolute paralyzing development limbo for over 3 agonizing years. It lacks a cohesive script, it lacks a cast, and most damningly, it completely lacks a director. Insider reports indicate that Netflix deliberately stalled the project, implementing a slow bleed strategy of endless corporate red tape designed specifically to exhaust Meghan's demands to direct. They wrapped her in a labyrinth of legal and creative bureaucracy, smiling warmly at industry galas while actively ensuring her hands were kept entirely off the actual camera. This brings us to the escalating existential stakes threatening to obliterate the Sussex brand permanently. Hollywood insiders are no longer whispering. They are loudly warning that the financial and professional walls are rapidly closing in. If the Sussexes do not produce something of actual, tangible value soon, their already downgraded, non-exclusive first-look deal will unequivocally not be renewed. Exclusive theories suggest that the financial backing of their entire California lifestyle is heavily leveraged against the sheer potential of this single Netflix contract. With the rejection of Cookie Queens and the deliberate suffocation of Meet Me at the Lake, the realization is violently setting in that Meghan's Hollywood empire is built on a foundation of sand. The insider reports from talent agencies hint at a mass exodus of confidence. Agents are refusing to pitch their top-tier talent to Archewell Productions, knowing full well that associating with a Meghan-directed vanity project is tantamount to career suicide in a town that runs strictly on successful box office returns and streaming metrics. The tension in Montecito must be suffocating as the glittering facade begins to crack under the immense weight of an industry that has finally, collectively, decided to stop pretending the emperor has any clothes. The sheer magnitude of this corporate divorce becomes impossible to ignore when examining the concrete, undeniable data that serves as the knockout blow to her entire Hollywood masquerade. Deep within the windowless, heavily fortified analytics bunkers of Netflix's Los Gatos headquarters, rows of glowing monitors displayed a reality so grim it sent shockwaves straight through the executive board. Insider reports reveal the catastrophic internal metrics surrounding her deeply personal, highly publicized lifestyle show, With Love, Meghan. This was supposed to be the ultimate intimate showcase, a meticulously curated cinematic journey designed to cement her status as a global tastemaker and visionary director. Instead, it became a spectacular, unmitigated disaster. The algorithm, cold and entirely devoid of royal sycophancy, registered a staggering lack of viewer interest. As the crucial first weekend numbers rolled in, exclusive theories from data analysts suggest the show plummeted into the algorithmic abyss, debuting at an absolutely abysmal 383rd place on the streaming platform. It was a visceral, algorithmic humiliation. But the true, agonizing irony, the fatal poison in the wound, was that her multi-million-dollar passion project was utterly obliterated in the rankings by old, dusty reruns of her former cable television show, Suits, which beat her highly anticipated premiere by over 200 brutal spots. This was not merely a flop, it was an industry-wide declaration of irrelevance. Behind the heavy oak doors of Montecito, the realization of this failure allegedly triggered absolute chaos. Insider reports describe frantic, late-night phone calls demanding that Netflix executives artificially boost the show's visibility on the homepage, furious accusations of sabotaged marketing campaigns, and desperate pleas to manipulate the trending algorithms. But the streaming giant remained cold and legally impenetrable. Netflix's elite squadron of entertainment lawyers had already anticipated the fallout, drafting labyrinthine, ironclad distribution clauses that legally shielded the platform from any obligation to promote a dead asset. They watched with calculated corporate detachment as her brand flatlined in real time. The stark contrast between her sky-high royal expectations and the brutal, unforgiving reality of streaming metrics exposed a fatal vulnerability. The audience simply did not care. Without the immediate, sensational drama of tearing down the British monarchy, her solo creative endeavors were met with a deafening, terrifying silence. This catastrophic failure exposes the deeply rooted behavioral flaw that has become her professional undoing. It is a terrifying character study of a staggering, unchecked ego colliding violently with a total, paralyzing lack of authentic creative instinct. Meghan's fundamental inability to step aside, to trust seasoned professionals, or to accept even the mildest constructive criticism has essentially quarantined her within the entertainment industry. Exclusive theories floating through the guarded VIP lounges of Beverly Hills suggest that she views herself not just as a producer, but as an omniscient auteur whose mere presence elevates a project. But the reality on the ground is a waking nightmare for anyone unfortunate enough to be trapped in her orbit. Insider reports from the few production meetings that actually took place paint a vivid picture of seasoned showrunners sitting with tightly clenched jaws and dark, exhausted eyes as she aggressively micromanaged every single frame, overriding veteran cinematographers on lighting choices and forcing award-winning editors to make nonsensical, vanity-driven cuts that destroyed the narrative pacing. Her overwhelming need to control the narrative ensures that every project morphs into a suffocating echo chamber of her own self-image. Consequently, a silent, unwritten blacklist has rapidly materialized across Hollywood. The industry's top-tier talent, the A-list actors, the visionary directors, the celebrated screenwriters, are actively, aggressively avoiding any association with Archewell Productions. Talent agencies are executing brilliant, unseen legal maneuvers, deploying their most ruthless agents to quietly shield their high-profile clients from her incoming calls. They recognize with absolute certainty that attaching their names to a Meghan-directed vanity project is tantamount to career suicide. Nobody wants to risk their hard-earned reputation on a project doomed to be choked to death by an unbearable micromanager who prioritizes her own PR mythology over the actual art of filmmaking. The glittering, star-studded collaborative empire she envisioned has evaporated, leaving her completely isolated in a town that runs strictly on profitable relationships and undeniable talent. She is stranded on a deserted island of her own making, frantically waving a royal title that holds absolutely zero currency in the ruthless, merit-based arenas of major studio production. Trapped in this suffocating professional exile, she executes a frantic, poorly calculated pivot, resulting in a spectacularly failed emotional appeal. Desperate to overwrite the narrative of her Hollywood rejection, she attempts to project the heavily filtered, sun-drenched image of a thriving, barefoot chic billionaire entrepreneur. She wants the world to believe she has gracefully transcended the petty squabbles of film distribution to build a massive, lucrative lifestyle empire. American Riviera Orchard. But strip away the sepia-toned filters and the meticulously crafted Instagram aesthetic, and the behind-the-scenes reality is a grim, almost tragic portrait of inauthenticity. Insider reports from the sprawling, eerily quiet halls of her Montecito mansion reveal a starkly different truth. Rather than commanding massive union-backed film crews on studio lots, she is allegedly reduced to orchestrating skeleton crews, sometimes just a lone assistant with an iPhone, in her dimly lit kitchen. It is a manic, hollow pantomime of success. She is filming cheap, short-form digital content, forced to peddle a sad grab bag of domestic goods because no major streaming platform will hand her a microphone or a camera ever again. Exclusive theories suggest the atmosphere on these makeshift sets is incredibly tense, filled with the desperate, unspoken knowledge that this is a colossal step down. She stands in front of the ring light, plastering on a megawatt, heavily rehearsed smile, trying to convince a rapidly dwindling audience to buy into a lifestyle brand that feels entirely devoid of soul or genuine passion. The visceral desperation is palpable through the screen. She is trying to sell an illusion of effortless royal domesticity, but the audience can see the agonizing effort, the sheer, exhausting strain of a woman desperately trying to monetize a crumbling persona. The emotional connection she once commanded has been totally severed, replaced by a glaring, uncomfortable inauthenticity as she pivots from demanding the director's chair of prestige documentaries to aggressively hawking jars of jam and cheap kitchenware in a desperate bid for relevance. This glaring, agonizingly public pivot from prestige creator to internet merchant exposes a profound thematic hypocrisy that cuts to the very core of her entire American exile. We must examine the foundational lie that initiated this entire Hollywood exodus. Behind the towering, wrought iron gates of their sprawling Montecito estate, a chilling reality is allegedly setting in for Prince Harry. Exclusive theories suggest that during the dramatic, world-stopping negotiations to abandon the British royal family, Meghan painted a magnificent, intoxicating vision of their future. She promised him a golden kingdom across the Atlantic, assuring him with absolute certainty that her unmatched charisma and industry connections would effortlessly mint them as American billionaires. They were supposed to be the undisputed king and queen of global media, building a philanthropic and entertainment empire that would rival the most legendary titans of Hollywood. Yet, the current undeniable reality is a stark, almost comical contradiction to that billion-dollar guarantee. Insider reports reveal a massive, heavily mortgaged financial operation hemorrhaging cash, while Meghan frantically attempts to monetize the absolute bottom of the retail barrel. She promised him an empire of prestige cinema, but right now, she cannot even successfully manage the logistics of selling 80,000 tubs of overpriced flour sprinkles. The absurdity of this spectacular downfall is magnified by the sheer, desperate mechanics of her failing lifestyle brand. Deep in the smog-choked industrial parks of the San Fernando Valley, rows of anonymous fulfillment warehouses are allegedly packed to the ceiling with unsold American Riviera Orchard merchandise. Exclusive theories detail a logistical nightmare of epic proportions, with panic-stricken accountants staring at glowing red spreadsheets, watching the astronomical burn rate of storing tens of thousands of jars of artisanal jam and aggressively branded floral sprinkles that absolutely no one is buying. The brutal, unyielding metrics of e-commerce do not care about a royal title. The terrifying realization crashing down upon the Sussex camp is that you cannot PR your way out of a dead inventory. As her legal team scrambles to negotiate emergency extensions on warehouse leases, her PR operatives are working overtime to suppress the humiliating truth of her retail catastrophe. This is the ultimate, undeniable failure of her core moral argument. She demanded to be treated as a visionary global thought leader, yet she fundamentally lacks the basic, elementary business acumen to successfully operate a mid-level domestic mail-order business. As her retail aspirations crumble into a mountain of unsold sugar and glass, her isolation within the actual entertainment industry has become an impenetrable, airtight quarantine. The elite power brokers at Netflix have not merely rejected her directorial demands, they have executed a brilliant, ruthless corporate excommunication. Insider reports from the towering, glass-enclosed boardrooms of Netflix's executive suites describe a series of draconian legal maneuvers designed to permanently amputate Meghan from any actual creative process. The streaming giant deployed their most lethal entertainment attorneys to draft heavily revised containment contracts, weaponizing labyrinthine legal clauses to ensure she is kept light years away from the camera. They have made it brutally, unequivocally clear to her representation that moving forward, she is permitted to be involved in Netflix projects in name only. This is the ultimate Hollywood insult, a velvet-wrapped death sentence for her ego. She is allowed to retain a meaningless executive producer credit to save public face, but behind the scenes, her studio keycards have allegedly been digitally deactivated. She is strictly barred from the writers' rooms, physically locked out of the editing bays, and legally prohibited from directly contacting the actual showrunners who are desperately trying to salvage what is left of the Archewell Productions slate. This corporate asphyxiation has left her totally, profoundly isolated from the industry's glittering inner circles. The high-profile galas, the secretive invite-only dinners in the Hollywood Hills, the hushed power meetings in the shadowy VIP booths of the Polo Lounge. The doors to all of these exclusive arenas have been quietly, firmly slammed in her face. Exclusive theories sweeping through the back channels of top-tier talent agencies suggest that her own representatives are sweating under the immense, impossible pressure of trying to book her in rooms that simply refuse to take the meeting. The Whisper Network, the invisible, ruthless lifeblood of Hollywood, has universally branded her as radioactive. Her massive ego, her history of relentless micromanagement, and her staggering inability to generate actual, profitable content have transformed her from a royal curiosity into an undisputed industry pariah. No A-list star will risk the contagion of her plummeting brand, and no serious director will ever agree to operate under her suffocating, legally fraught vanity umbrella. She sits alone in her Montecito fortress, completely cut off from the powerful, creative ecosystem she once believed she was destined to rule. We have finally reached the absolute, undeniable point of no return. With her directorial dreams publicly, violently crushed, her flagship documentary completely abandoned, and her remaining projects hopelessly stalled in an eternal corporate purgatory, Meghan's Hollywood empire has officially flatlined. The vital signs of her media career are emitting a long, continuous, terrifying tone that signals total brand death. She gambled her entire global reputation on the arrogant assumption that a British royal title would act as an all-access master key to the highest echelons of American entertainment. But the brutal, unforgiving machinery of Los Angeles operates on cold, hard metrics, undeniable talent, and the ability to execute. Three things she has spectacularly proven she completely lacks. This is not a temporary setback. This is the permanent collapse of the Archewell illusion. The ultimate reality check has been delivered, proving once and for all that in the ruthless, multi-billion-dollar blood sport of the entertainment business, her royal title holds absolutely zero weight. leaving her legacy as nothing more than a cautionary tale of unchecked hubris. If you found these exclusive theories and insider reports as mind-blowing as we did, do not leave this page without hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and ringing the notification bell so you are immediately alerted the second we drop our next massive investigation into the dark, crumbling reality of royal Hollywood.